Hey, audio everyone. Lost Leader here, back in action for a car thing in particular, and a vlog, of course, as per usual. It took a bit longer for me to actually get this started because I had to find a place to record, and this is kind of the only place I can really record right now. So I guess we're going to deal with that. So any kind of fancy edits and whatnot that happen, that is because, people came by. They don't need to be in this video. This is solely a vlog for transitioning purposes and whatnot. And with that, I would like to talk about a bit of a serious issue regarding that. That, in particular, is something that's been on my mind as of lately. And that's relationships. Relationships, in particular, are always a hard thing. And it's something that I've never been particularly good at. And I've never been in a relationship. I've never, ever been in one. I've never kissed somebody. I never have, an actual relationship with somebody. But I've been through a lot with the way that a lot of my family handles relationships in particular. And at the very least, I could say I have a good inkling and thought process to how relationships should be, how they should be managed. And for the most part, I could call if things don't work out, rightly so or not. And it's, I wouldn't say a power, I wouldn't say a curse. It's just kind of like this sort of just thing that you recognize. It's like being Captain Hindsight, but you already have the hindsight and then no one wants to listen to you. It happens. It just really does. And admittedly enough, I've never had a relationship, so it could backfire on me to the point where, hey, you're missing out on all these things that this person doesn't particularly like and things like that. And it's always been a concern for me in that regard of whether or not that's the case for me, if I'll ever blindly fall in love or not. But that's never happened before. I've had a lot of crushes before. I had a lot of people that I liked, but they didn't like me. And largely my relationships have been fruitless. They don't exist at all. And it's unfortunate, but that's the case in point. That's the truth of the matter. I don't have relationship experience, not first-handed. It's all second-handed, and it sucks because right now things are in a bit of a tiffy with everything, and it feels like tensions are high, but I know they're not that high. And it's just one of those things where it's just like, I wish I could prevent a lot of things. I really, really do. But it's just really weird to say, is it okay to be truthful and hurt people beforehand? Or is it okay to let this lie continue on? And I think that factors in a lot to what I've been thinking about relationships when it comes to actually getting into one. And I think a lot of people talk about, what if they lied to you about being trans and whatnot? What if you just find out one day that the person that you're dating, that they were born male or female? And obviously this point should be moot, but that's in a perfect world where all these problems in society and whatnot, they don't exist. But that's not the case. That's not the point. People are not going to be doing that. They're not going to be looking at it that way. And in a lot of ways, I see that argument and I see why people are like, you know what, that's not fair to a lot of people. You're basically lying to them, and in a way, you are lying to them. And I don't mean in the sense like, oh, I was never a man, I was never a woman, that type of situation. No. In my heart of hearts, I do believe myself to be feminine and to be a woman. And there are people out there that are going to say otherwise and whatnot, and they're going to back on that. But in a lot of ways to say, I was born male and for other people to say I was born female and they are a man later on in life, or rather they get identified by society as one. I don't know how you want to phrase that properly, but just try to phrase it the way you like it. It does feel like you're covering up your past. And that's kind of a problem with relationships and trust and all of that situation. And it sucks because there's not a right answer to this, not rightly so, to where like, hey, should I be trans out front or should I just never say it? And in all honesty, I can see people just never saying it and they won't know whatsoever. This just wouldn't happen. And it's not their business to actually know because that's your private life. So if it's like a sexual fling or something like that, I don't see the purpose of actually doing that. You're not trapping someone into thinking something that you're not. If you want to act as a woman and be a woman for all those times and whatnot, then the role you played in that sexual relationship was that of a woman. It, like, nothing stopped there. You don't stop being your own personality and just go like, oh, I tricked you, you're actually this. You're like, this is not a thing. It's really weird that people consider that like a sort of trap thing. And I know there's people out there that do it. There is. I think it's one thing that we try not to mention so much. Transgender folk and the like. But there is. I mean, it's super small, and I really doubt you're going to find someone first-hand account. I really doubt that. You're mostly going to hear stories and whatnot more than anything else. And there might be one or two that are real, or like someone's like a cross-dresser and just like they tricked them into having sex because, you know, they thought they were hot or something. I don't know. But to be fair, that's more akin to someone not being so great with sexual relationships and just going like, let's just have sex because people look cute and such. And just kind of like, you know what? People do. Sometimes I do see a man and I think they're kind of cute. I mean, there are a lot of males out there that actually look very feminine, and femininity is a very big charm for me. And then I have the thing where I look at women, the big buff women and tall women and whatnot. I love it so much. It's my thing. I don't know what to say. So this is kind of a little bit here, you know? I'm not going to be like, oh no, I found a man attractive. Suddenly I'm gay, or whatever. God, it's hard to say straight. God, freaking, because it's just like, that was another thing too, in particular relationships and being trans and whatnot, is you just, like, you're technically gay, technically straight. It's, no matter what, you're this weird unorthodox thing to society's eyes, quote unquote. And it really sucks because you kind of have to abide by society's desires and whatnot and just get going on it. And that's kind of the whole entire point here, is that this identity that you have is, you're fighting it constantly with society about, like, view me as this, but then society goes like, we were originally this, so that's what you were. And I'm like, yeah, technically I was, but that's not who I am. And it's just like, oh my God. Because society doesn't stop thinking about the past necessarily. That's not what society does. It doesn't look at you that way. It's unfortunate, but it's true. That goes for everybody, and that goes for anything in particular. So what I'm really getting at here is just relationships get extra complicated in the beginning of the transgender kind. And it's just like, do I keep going on with this quote unquote lie? Do I keep going on and just never tell them? Do I tell them up front and then I risk the chance of being too intimate too fast? Because that's the thing that definitely happens, and people will not understand all the time. And not everybody is as tolerant as you want them to be, and not everyone is accepting as you want them to be. It's unfortunate. I never had to deal with this firsthand. I've had to think about it a lot. I tried a lot with dating sites. I don't get anything. And I try to be upfront about it. That's my motto. That's who I am. I just want them to know. I rather started on a truthful foundation than no foundation, I suppose, or omitting certain things so it seems like I'm kind of sneaky, and I don't want to be kind of sneaky. I want them to know who I am, but at the same time, I'm looking for an actual relationship. I am. I'm not looking to have a fling. I'm not looking for a one night stand, because if I was, I guarantee that I would not mention that. I'd just be like, hey, let's go out and do stuff. But no, I've never been one for one night stands. I've never been one to just get horny. Let's have sex. For a lot of reasons, namely that is to have it. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really hard conversation to have. And it's hard because I see the truth in both sides, and I see people thinking about it and just going one way or the other about it. And it feels to me like, do you want to keep living a sort of lie? Do you want to tell the truth automatically? How do you want this relationship to start? Do you want it to build up to that truth? Because you can never tell them. You can tell them the truth right away. And in all honesty, I want to say that love will prevail all, and just, if you tell them outright, they'll still love you for who they are and whatnot. But that's not the case. That's not reality for a lot of people. Sometimes you got to keep that in and then wait for the right moment. There are good moments to reveal things. There really, really is. And I don't know when the time is, and that's the point. No one knows what the proper time is to reveal things, because people will tell you automatically that, reveal it right away because that's the truth. But it's not necessarily the truth. That's the whole bit of why you started this transitioning to begin with. So, what is actually the truth here? That's the problem, because society made it extra stupid. And that's on top of relationships just being hard. Like, we haven't even scratched the surface of relationships just being hard in general. And they're hard in general. I think the biggest reason why I'm very good at predicting things is because people largely just don't get along with each other with that long a time. I may be a bit pessimistic about this, but from what I've seen and from what I feel about relationships, as romanticized as I make them and whatnot, I have a more realistic approach to it than I like to let on. And that's the simple case. If you're going to date somebody, you're probably not going to marry them. That's just it. Simple as that. A lot of people don't look into the long run of these things. They just see what they see right then and there, and then go, hey, this could work out for now. And then they just realize, oh, I don't want to be with them forever, because I found out this, and that from them, how they truly are. And that's kind of part of the relationship too. Can someone love your true self? Not just the thing that you present to them. That's kind of what relationships are too. And as a whole, a lot of people don't have that. Even in the strongest marriages and whatnot, it's not so lovey-dovey, and it's not so, I accept everything about you. It's more akin to an old married couple, where they're yelling and screaming at each other and whatnot. But that's the furthest I've seen for love. Like, honestly. I don't mean that in the sense that they're always like that, just you turn out that way. That's just the way it turns out to be, because if you could be true to yourself as yourself, you could be true to the other one that you have in your life. And a lot of people don't treat themselves very well. That's just the case in point. That includes me too. And that's just kind of the way I feel about it, Just relationships are hard. I mean, they are. This is not a split. This is not like a full-on conversation here about relationships, but just with present events happening, it's got me really thinking. And I've been worrying about my relationships to begin with, and just seeing that I'm going to have a hard road ahead just to start. Just to literally start. Not exciting, not fun. I wish it would be a bit romantic than I envision. Like, I want that. I want a Hollywood fancy type of romance situation. I really, really, really do. But people don't get that. They don't get it. I wish that was the case. I was hoping that was the case. But 9 times out of 10, your relation's going to end. And that kind of sucks because the odds are always stacked against you. So it feels like your odds are even stacked more when you're trans. So it just kind of feels like you shouldn't try. Sometimes you just really shouldn't try. It feels like a fool's errand sometimes. I don't want to leave this on a dark note, but honestly, I don't know how things will turn out. And that's probably the best I could ever say.